Should I take the money or should I go with the experience? Up next. Hey guys, ECRG here. Today we're talking about should you go for the experience or should you take the money early? Now, I was recently faced with a situation like this not too long ago where I was in a position where, really I could have taken the money for another position where my career trajectory would have been altered. It really would have just been for the money. I mean, I would have gotten some experience, but not the kind of experience that I wanted in order to get to where I wanted to be. Or I could have taken the other position, which didn't pay as well, but gave me the experience that I would need to eventually jump to where I wanted to be long term and eventually get the money and the experience that I would want or need. So I'm sure a lot of people are faced with this dilemma. Should you take the experience? Should you take the money up front? And I'm going to go through the process that I went through to determine which one I should do. So for a lot of people, they're faced with this decision, and there are external factors as to why you would choose either. So in today's day and age, people have external factors. You got student loans. You may have a car payment. You may, like to travel. You may, have other bills you need to pay for. You got health insurance, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever it may be that you have to pay for, especially in the US. This video is more geared to the United States because everyone has different things they need to pay for in other countries. But specifically in the USA, this video is catered to because that's where I live. So that's where I was making these decisions. But a lot of people make the money decision for external reasons. And I really sympathize with that because I was very close to taking that position where, the money would have been nice to just get a little bit of breathing room on the monthly bills. Bills add up. The cost of housing is, still the same. It's about $800, $900, $1,000 for a decent and a safe location, 1-bedroom place, cheaper for a studio. So people like to judge quickly and don't really understand when people take positions for the money or when people leave companies for the money. And they say things like, well, it'd have been much better for your career if you would have stayed an extra year or stayed an extra 6 months in this position. But people really forget quickly as soon as they start making money or as soon as they, start getting up in the company or something, what it's like struggling at the bottom when you're, barely getting by, barely building your savings account, barely able to invest every month, barely able to, pay your bills, that it's difficult doing everything you need to be able to do financially if you're only making a certain amount of money. And we're not going to go into the range there, but it's definitely a legitimate debate that people consider, should they take the money or should they take the experience? So, and that's why in one of the videos we've talked about where if you have cash on hand, it is a legitimate advantage. If you have money in the bank, you have a legitimate advantage, or you don't have to worry about money. You have a legitimate advantage over people that do, because you can think more long term. You don't have to think short term. And so usually when you're taking the money or the experience, because if you get the money and the experience, then that's a no-brainer to me. But it really becomes a hard decision to make if you have to choose the money. Now, the experience, on the other hand, you do the experience position is going to be something where, you do this for a year, 2 years, maybe even less, and you'll be able to make even more money than the money position. So there are a lot of jobs like this, especially in clinical research, where after you get some experience, you can go on to bigger and better job, and that has more perks and things that you may like. But it can be difficult to get there, and they're really specific about the experience. One of these jobs is CRA. I know a lot of people want to be CRAs that watch this channel. So, sponsors typically require 2 years on-site monitoring experience, but there's a catch-22 there how do you get the experience if you have no experience? How do you become a level 1 CRA or an entry level CRA if you have no experience, and they're not hiring anybody unless you have an experience? So it's a catch-22 there. And, it can be a long process. Maybe you go, work as a CTA, or, you kind of get your foot in a company and kind of wiggle your way around to eventually being a CRA. Well, eventually people want to, make a little money. People want to do more than just get by. They want to get by with a cushion at least, so they can go on a vacation, once a year or so they can take time off and go places every once in a while, just so they can live their life, build up a savings account, build up a little nest egg. And it's not always to go like spend on stupid things as people think, but that's beyond the point. So their experience position is something that's going to more benefit you long term, versus the money position is going to be a short term benefit. You're going to make more money now. It may throw off your career trajectory a little bit, but typically it's going to be a more short-term move. So how do you narrow down? How do you decide between the two? And, unfortunately, your money issues, your financial issues, your financial health is something that only you control. And that's really up to you to decide what to do. But it definitely helps if you have a little bit more financial freedom, if you have a little bit more money in the bank, to where you don't have to, where the financial component doesn't have to weigh so heavily into your decision making. And you can just, go based on experience. What's going to give you the best experience for now, so you can make that better financial leap. So fortunately, my expenses are pretty low, so I was able to make the more long-term decision and go for the more experienced route. But I realized not everybody is in that same situation. Some people have so much student loans. Some people have a car payment because their car got totaled or something. They had an old car and they just need a new car, or whatever it may be. Maybe they had a lease and the lease was running out, or maybe they had some hospital bills, whatever it may be. The financial health and financial well-being is something that's important, especially as a lot of people are struggling with student loan debt. That's not even really their fault. And, it's just a little disheartening that people have to, have to weigh the financial risks and rewards on, things that they made decisions on, like especially like student loans, where they made the decision on, where it seemed like everybody was going to college and you'd be able to get this great job and live this great life. But simply not the case in the USA, at least. So I hope that shed a little light on making the decisions there. Hopefully you guys are able to do it. Obviously you want to weigh the pros and cons of each, but do not feel bad if you have to make the financial move, because, there's always a way back. People always make exceptions. There are always anomalies to every trajectory. So don't feel like if you don't have the perfect trajectory to get to the job you want, that you are not a good candidate anymore. That's simply not true. And you keep working hard, you keep your head at it, you will get to where you want to be eventually. Just takes time, just takes some patience. So as always, guys, email us at eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com for any inquiries you may have. Want to review your resume. As always, we'll be sprinkling a little bit more clinical research videos here and there. I try and break it up, because I know a lot of you guys are not specifically in clinical research, so may not find that interesting. But, comment down below what you guys think about the experience or money dilemma. Which one would you choose if you had the choice? Would you go with the experience job with a little bit less money, or would you go for the more money job? And put your comments down below and reasons why. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Take care.